Hello everyone, back again with movie and tune recap. Today, I'm going to explain an American action thriller film from 2025, titled Dust Bunny. Spoilers ahead, so watch out and take care. The film opens in an unnamed city, where strands of cotton gather inside a room and form the shape of a rabbit that moves beneath a bed. Sleeping above the bed is 8-year-old Aurora, who is startled by strange noises coming from below and screams in fear. Her parents rush into the room, and Aurora tells them that something is under her bed. When her mother checks and finds nothing, they dismiss her concern and tell her to go back to sleep before leaving. Still frightened, Aurora chooses to sleep on the balcony, and when she looks back into her room, she sees the cotton rabbit approaching her. Attempting to calm herself, she notices one of her neighbors walking somewhere late at night. It is shown that Aurora is intrigued by the nocturnal activities of the neighbor across the hall in Unit 5B, who is a hitman, often spying on him, even when checking his mailbox. One night, Aurora sees the man from 5B leaving again and quietly sneaks out to follow him, narrowly avoiding being caught. They eventually arrive in Chinatown, where a festival is underway, and Aurora finds a rabbit mask and puts it on to blend in. She soon notices several armed gang members, some hiding beneath a dragon costume, following 5B, and to observe safely, Aurora climbs onto a rooftop, ready in case something happens. 5B, who is aware of the danger, confronts the gang members and easily overpowers them, with Aurora witnessing the entire fight. In reality, he is fighting armed men concealed inside the dragon costume, but from Aurora's perspective, he appears to be battling an actual dragon. After defeating them, 5B returns to the apartment, with Aurora following behind. Inside the elevator to his floor, 5B notices blood dripping from a wound he sustained during the fight and wipes it off the floor using his socks. One evening, while taking a bath, Aurora notices the cotton rabbit beneath her bed before it slips into the floorboard. Convinced that a monster is living under her bed, she warns her parents not to step on the floor, insisting that doing so will trigger its appearance. However, they dismiss her fears and try to calm her, and after saying goodbye to her parents, Aurora is awakened by the sound of the monster attacking them. The following morning, she goes to her parents' bedroom after recalling the disturbance from the night before and finds the room in disarray, with no sign of them. Realizing what has happened, Aurora is left alone in the apartment, and from then on, she constantly rides on a large hippo toy to avoid touching the floor. One night, Aurora is startled by noises coming from beneath her bed and attempts to escape, but the monster prevents her from doing so. The creature emerges from the floorboards, revealing its enormous size, and violently shakes the bed while Aurora clings to it. Eventually, the monster retreats back into the floor, allowing the exhausted girl to finally fall asleep. The next morning, determined to find a way to get rid of the monster beneath her bed, Aurora decides to go to a church. During the offering collection, a donation box is passed around the congregation, and when it reaches Aurora, she takes the box and runs out of the church. Meanwhile, 5B returns to his apartment and checks his mailbox, where he discovers an envelope containing something inside. In his room, he opens it and finds a letter from someone who wants to hire him to eliminate the monster under her bed, along with a sum of money. Moments later, there is a knock at the door, which turns out to be Aurora, who wrote the letter, and when 5B asks how she obtained the money, Aurora admits the truth. He then questions why she believes he can kill a monster, and Aurora tells him about the fight with the dragon in Chinatown. Although 5B tries to explain that it was not what she thought, Aurora remains convinced that he killed a monster. She then tells him about the creature under her bed that ate her parents and asks him to get rid of it. Though skeptical, 5B agrees to see for himself. Aurora takes him to her parents' bedroom, where the incident occurred, and he sees a large claw mark on a wardrobe. However, unable to find any blood or clear evidence of an attack, 5B finds it difficult to believe her story, but Aurora insists that the monster eats everything whole. Back in his apartment, 5B again tries to convince Aurora that he did not fight a dragon, but she firmly believes what she witnessed. When he asks why the monster would eat her parents, Aurora simply replies that it was because they stepped on the floor, and refusing to accept the job, 5B returns the money to her. Believing instead that Aurora's parents were killed by assassins searching for him, 5B goes to meet his handler, Leverne, at a restaurant. He gives her the parents' identification cards and tells her about Aurora's claim that a monster ate them, though he remains convinced that they were murdered by assassins. Leverne says that since the girl now knows about his line of work, he should kill her as well. However, 5B tells her that he feels a responsibility to protect Aurora. Back in his apartment, 5B hears strange movement in the elevator and immediately seems to know what is coming, and rushes to Aurora's apartment and tells her to hide in the closet. As he prepares himself, two hitmen arrive, one through the elevator and the other through a window. 5B engages one of the hitmen in a hand-to-hand fight, while the other enters Aurora's bedroom through the window. Believing Aurora is on the bed, the hitman fires at it, only to discover it is filled with pillows. She then approaches the closet, finds Aurora hiding inside, and prepares to shoot her, but at that moment, the hitman is suddenly consumed by an unseen force. Meanwhile, after a violent struggle, 5B manages to kill the other hitman by choking him to death. He then rushes to Aurora and asks whether anyone else entered her room. Aurora tells him that another person did come in but was eaten by the monster under her bed, but once again, 5B struggles to believe her account. He drags the lifeless body of the hitman he killed into Aurora's apartment, and together, they work to hide the evidence. When Aurora brings up the monster again, 5B insists that her parents were killed by the same organization that sent the attackers. They narrowly avoid being questioned by Brenda, Aurora's child protection agent, who has an appointment with 5B, and he tells her that they will need to reschedule. Brenda informs him that Aurora's parents were only fostering her and that they were, in fact, her third set of foster parents, and she also assumes that 5B is her third foster parent. When Brenda is gone, 5B asks Aurora about her previous foster parents, and she tells him that they were all eaten by the monster, something she had wished for. She explains that she wanted them gone because they were not kind to her, although she admits that some of them were nice. Now, she says, the monster wants to eat her as well, believing she is wicked and does not deserve a family. 5B checks under her bed but finds nothing, and Aurora explains that the monster only appears at night. The two then begin talking, and the conversation gradually becomes emotional. Later that night, 5B meets with a disgruntled Leverne, carrying a suitcase containing the remains of the hitman he killed. It is revealed that Leverne had hired Aurora's attackers in order to eliminate loose ends. When 5B asks about Aurora's birth parents, Leverne says they abandoned her, though the truth of what happened to them is already known. She also reminds 5B of the bounty on his head, and minutes later, Aurora joins them, upset that 5B intends to leave her behind, but he responds that he does not recall promising to stay. Leverne finds it absurd that Aurora hired 5B to get rid of the monster under her bed and laughs at the idea. Noticing how much Aurora has softened 5B, Leverne warns him that the assassins will not stop until he is dead and urges him to leave. Meanwhile, at a Chinese restaurant, 5B and Aurora encounter another assassin who also has a bounty on 5B. The man approaches them while they are eating and asks to speak with 5B outside. 5B refuses, saying he is in the middle of a meal, and before leaving, the assassin warns him to watch his back. After leaving the restaurant and heading home, 5B and Aurora notice the assassin and his team following them. Back at the apartment, Brenda shows up again, and during their conversation, 5B tells her that he is not Aurora's foster father. He then turns off the apartment lights and shows Brenda the assassin and his team, who have followed them home and are converging on Aurora's apartment. Suddenly, a knock is heard at the door, and when 5B opens it, he finds Leverne. She has returned to convince 5B that Aurora must die, arguing that the girl knows what he does and could one day report him to the police. Leverne also warns him about the assassins outside, but 5B remains determined to protect Aurora, and frustrated, Leverne leaves, saying she has done all she can. When 5B returns to the apartment, Brenda reveals her true identity, admitting that she is an FBI agent investigating the disappearance of Aurora's previous 3 families. She alerts her team outside about the situation, unaware that the assassin and his men have already entered the building. Suddenly, a loud thud comes from Aurora's room. 5B and Brenda rush in, and Aurora tells them that it is the monster. She warns them to get off the floor, even screaming to show how serious she is, but 5B remains stubborn. As 5B and Brenda reach the apartment door, one of the assassins fires through it, shooting Brenda. A gunfight breaks out, and 5B manages to drag Brenda's body into the bathroom, where they lock themselves inside. Moments later, Brenda's team enters the building and engages the hitmen in a fierce firefight, but the gun battle abruptly stops when the floor begins to shake. Suddenly, the monster, a vicious, giant bunny, bursts up through the floor and begins consuming everyone in its path. It is then revealed that Brenda is still alive, having been protected by a bulletproof vest. While hiding, 5B searches a drawer and finds a chemical thumb-sucking deterrent, which he carried, and when they notice movement beneath the floor, they quickly climb onto higher ground. The monster throws one of the hitmen into the bathroom, where he is killed by 5B and Brenda. They both hear the strange sounds continuing outside. When everything falls silent, they throw the hitman's body onto the floor and watch in horror as the giant bunny emerges again and devours it, confirming that Aurora has been telling the truth. The FBI, along with Brenda, manages to arrest the remaining hitmen, warning the rest about the monster. However, as they prepare to leave, the bunny erupts from the floor once more and viciously devours all of them, including Brenda. 5B is the only one who survives. After confirming that Aurora is unharmed, 5B heads toward her room so they can escape through the window. Before he can reach her, the giant bunny emerges from the floor and swallows him, leaving Aurora terrified as she hides beneath her bed covers. The next morning, Aurora wakes to strange noises coming from the floor. Moments later, 5B is expelled from beneath it, spat out by the monster due to the thumb-sucking deterrent he had applied earlier. Moments later, Leverne arrives at the apartment to finish the job by killing Aurora. 5B pleads with her not to harm the girl and warns her to get off the floor, insisting that there is a monster. He also reveals that Leverne is his mother, but she refuses to believe him. Leverne is then confronted by the giant bunny and manages to drive it away by shooting at it. However, the danger is not over. The monster re-emerges behind her and devours her. The creature then turns its attention to 5B, and just as it is about to consume him, Aurora steps in front of him, bringing the rampage to an end. It is revealed that the monster never intended to eat Aurora, and 5B tells Aurora that the monster belongs to her and that she must learn to control it. Together, they leave the city to start a new life, and as they drive along a sunny highway, the monster is seen running alongside the car. Okay guys, that's all the recap about Dust Bunny from 2025. Thanks for watching, see you again in the next video.